prodigal son. The son who had everything, who had an inheritance, got it early, went out and lost it all. And in losing it all, he came back home to his daddy, to the property, and he was lowly, came back home. But daddy was so happy that he threw a party for the son. He was trying to give him his rights back, and he telling him, hey, son, you're still my boy. And in it, he threw a party, and everybody came to the party. Well, everybody except one. One person didn't come to the party, and it was the older brother. The oldest son decided not to come to the party. Daddy had a fatted calf. I don't know how long he kept this calf, but I'm sure he kept it for an occasion like this. And daddy said, slaughter the fatted calf, the one that's ready, the abundant calf, and let's celebrate my son. The older brother wasn't having it. He left. Daddy went after the older brother. He goes in and finds the older brother, and he says, why aren't you here? And the older brother looks at him and says, Dad, you slaughtered a fatted calf. You remember a couple years ago, I asked for a goat to party with my friends, and you wouldn't give me a goat, but the son who lost everything comes back, and you give him the fatted calf. And the daddy just looked at him. And I know in the heart of the dad, he's like, son, you just don't get it. Because here was his response. He says, I gave him the fatted calf, but don't you know I gave you the farm? The elder brother suffered from a poverty mindset. He thought because something was given to something else, it means something was taken from him. And he missed it. He missed the fact that his daddy was giving everything to him. He missed the fact that as well as the prodigal, he owned everything. See, the poverty mindset doesn't know how to share. A poverty mindset thinks just in fact there's only so many pieces of the pie, and if you got a piece, that means there's one less for me. But an abundant mindset says there's a whole lot more pizza in the oven. And I'm telling you, Jesus is trying to get his people to recognize that there's a whole lot more pizza in the oven. There's a whole lot more out there. There's a whole lot more in heaven. There's a whole lot more in heaven that he wants to give you. That's why we want heaven to invade earth. So just because you have gifts doesn't mean that somebody else doesn't get any. No, it just means that they get gifts too. And before we know it, see, we serve a God who owns everything. He already says, I own the cattle on 1,000 hills, and it's just a picture. It could be 10,000, it could be 1,000,000 hills. He owns it all. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. And he gives us authority in the world system. He says, hey, you're a salt and light to you're salt of the earth and you're light to the world. And so he says, pray that my will, my kingdom would come on earth as it is in heaven. My resources, my abundance, everything I have would be your reality on earth. Therefore, when you walk into a spirit or a subject or a situation of lack, you have a resource, you have a well that never runs dry. But if you only think through a poverty mindset, you'll never tap into that resource.